Narduzzi,
Hey, Coach.
Hey,
here.
how we doing? We got a big gang in here today, huh?
They all miss talking to you.
I see a camera. Craig's got a camera over there in the house. This guy's got all Pete. Where are you going today? Jeez, Pete, all dressed up, ready to go. Good to see your faces, everybody. Wish I could get you all on one screen.
You know, it appears that we do have.
Tell me when you're ready to go.
We have everybody here, and folks, as I said before, this is being taped, and I will email out a box link to you in the aftermath for your use and consumption and posting, whatever the case may be. And if everybody is set, Coach Narduzzi, we will let you start out with some comments, and then we'll open it up for questions and conversation.
Well, I wish this meeting would have been kind of, hey, spring ball 4, let's get ready to go. Gosh, who would have ever thought we'd be sitting in this situation that we are in today? But, we left, almost 34 days ago on March 6th, practice number 3, first day in pads, all excited. And all of a sudden, we're here today, which is just, really crazy circumstances, as we all know. Probably a week and a half prior to even spring break starting, or a week prior to spring ball starting, me and Chris Asau had a conversation, an email exchange, just talking. I said, I want to know where all our players are going. Just kind of as we look at where we came from here. I said, I want to know where they're all going. I mean, you look at Hava Baldonado. I was like, I hope he's not going back to Italy for spring break, because you guys know I'm a news guy. I like to watch, listen to the national news and like what's happening in the world. Got a pretty good idea of what's going on, and some of our players, like Rashad Weaver, said I was old. Like, come on, coach, you're old. Like none of the kids are really worried about it. As you can see, how some of the spring breakers, acted during some of those rough times early in March. But so we had a big list of where our players were. So I wanted to know where they were going, and just, make sure. So we kind of prepared them before we left. After that practice, talked to them about being smart. I think, a few of them probably were like, okay, coach, we're good. We're young. We're good. But, it scared us as coaches. So we were kind of on top of where our players were going and what they were doing. And then we had a couple of Mexico, no cruises, thank God. But, relatively right now, our football team, our staff is all healthy, and obviously we're all thankful for that. And hopefully you guys are all healthy as well. And if you aren't or recovering, glad you're back, because you made it on today. So that's kind of where we've been. We really haven't lost a step in any phase of our football program right now. Like I said, we were really prepared before we walked out of those offices. Even when we went back to the office after spring break, we had 2 days in the office, that Monday and Tuesday, before really we decided. I went down to the weight room and kind of shut that thing down and said, guys, it's time to go. It's time to go back home. We just, thinking of people sitting there benching and someone standing above a bench looking down, and, what's transpiring there is just like, we just can't keep doing this. So we shut the office down. I think it was the 17th of March, a Tuesday. And ever since, we've really been doing our job from home. Every morning I sit at my desk here. We have a 7:30 staff meeting. A little later, I let them sleep in because we don't have the travel. We don't have to worry about traffic. Usually it's a 6:30 staff, so we let them sleep in just a little bit. But we start every day off with a 7:30 staff meeting, getting everybody on the same page. Our day hasn't changed. It's been really organized. As a head coach and leader, I try to make sure everybody's kind of on top of their stuff. So every evening I get an email from everybody, from offense coordinator, defense coordinator, recruiting coordinator, strength coordinator, operations coordinator. Chris Asau is on here today. Just kind of, hey, tell me what we did, so I know what's going on, and keeping everybody accountable. So our entire staff has done an outstanding job of working from home, and we can continue to do this. The thing we miss the most is that interaction with our players. That's it's the interaction. It's having them, there every day in your building. You're eating breakfast with them. You're watching what they're eating. You miss that part, and that's why we coach, is to be around our players. So that's the toughest thing that we've had to struggle with, and obviously our weight room and having control of what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing out there strength-wise, and nor does the NCAA really want us to monitor that, because if we're monitored, then they're out, and they're really not, keeping that social separation that we need to move on with what we need to. So, but recruiting hasn't slowed down. It's actually maybe sped up for us. Although these kids aren't coming on campus, these great student athletes out there all over the country, we're having more. I mean, there's more, phone calls, FaceTimes with players than ever before, because I've got nothing else to do. We're not worried about spring ball or spring game or banquet or, spring breakfast, whatever you want to call it. And we're not worried about those things. So we've got more focus, and we're trying to, as coaches, get out there. Matter of fact, we even got coaches now playing video games with recruits. We've always kind of talked about it, but we got coaches, I won't mention names, but we got coaches playing with some of the Maddens and some of those games just to get around them. That's like all we can do. I'm not set up for that yet at my house, but I talked to my son about maybe setting that thing up. Maybe I got to go on and play a little ball. So, with that, I just want to, leave it open. We'll go as long as we need to go today to get any of your answers that you guys want. But questions?
Hey, Coach, thank you very much. As a reminder, if you aren't speaking, if you can keep yourself on mute. And to lead our questions off here today, Jerry, of course, we'll give our nod to you as the Beats elder statesman.
As the old man in the house.
How you doing, Pat?
Stay healthy, man. Stay healthy.
I'm doing my best. How you, family okay?
Family's great.
Great.
Family's got me I'm locked down. I'm not going anywhere. They're like, you ain't going anywhere, Dad. You stay here. So I'm fortunate. I got 4 great kids and a wife that we're out here in the woods. So we can walk outside, take the dog for a long walk, and get some work done at the same time.
Glad to hear it. Pat, my question, I have a lot of them actually, but starting off with kind of a big picture question. You guys only had 3 spring practices. Some schools had none. I think Clemson had 9, if I'm not mistaken. And then this summer, when the kids get together on their own, it seems to me that's a big and important step for them. They may not be able to do that either. What is the game overall the college football game going to look like without all this spring and summer stuff that was so vitally important in years past?
Yeah, I mean, every practice, every strength conditioning day is important for our student athletes. They're trying to get it done on their own, but we know if they could do it on their own, they wouldn't need coaches. So, going back to the spring ball question, Jerry, I mean, we're just not sure what's going to happen there. There'll be, depending on when we get started back up, whenever that may be, and those are decisions they don't pay me to make. I just follow directions. But when that time comes, they'll, the conferences, the NCAA will hopefully have a clue on how we're going to, address the different practices some people got. And I think, in the ACC, I think the top number is 9 and the low number was 0. There's some teams that got 0 practices in, and obviously we're fortunate enough to at least get 3. We've watched those practices over and over again, because you can really, you got time to analyze them even more. I wish that practice 3 was better than it was, to be honest with you. So it's not easy, but hopefully everybody's going to be on the same kind of grounds for the most part. Nothing's ever going to be equal. It never has been, never will be. But we're going to try to keep it. I hope the NCAA is going to try to keep it as even as possible, and we've just got to deal with it the way we can. I mean, the thing I talk to our players and coaches about is control the controllables. There's only some things that we can control, and right now it's academics and it's a knowledge that you're picking up on these Zoom sessions every day. And I pop in on all these Zoom sessions with our coaches, watching how business-like we're making. I mean, you guys are all sitting up, looking good today. And, my first Zoom session that I popped in, I'm kind of like, I'm sealing the ceilings. Kids are laying on their bed looking at the ceiling. I'm like, this is just like a regular old meeting. So just teaching them the business of Zooming meetings, just like our pro prospects, who I really feel awful for, Dane and Maurice and Kylan Johnson, all the seniors of not having a pro day. The draft's still going on. They're doing virtual meetings, I'm sure with NFL scouts and coaches and GMs. And again, the NFL is doing the same thing. They're recruiting, they're drafting based on little less knowledge than they would have. Jerry, I hope I answered most of your questions, but you can shoot again if I missed something. You're on mute, Jerry.
I'm sorry. I just want to ask you one more. Is there a fear that the teams may not be in sync early in the season, especially?
Well, I mean, if everybody's not in sync, it'll be even. But were we in sync in the opener last year? Probably not. But you're never as good as you want to be. The one thing I can tell you is we're going to be healthy. I mean, we had some guys staying on the sideline in spring ball. Those guys will be back 100% when we finally do get started, and players will be healthy. And that's our job as coaches, to get them as close to being ready as we possibly can.
Hey, Pat.
Pat, in terms of getting ready for a season, I mean, how many days do you realistically need to get guys ramped up to play week 1 of a season?
How many days do we need? That's a big question that we addressed yesterday on an ACC head coaches Zoom session, I guess you want to say. And again, we've kind of got a plan. I'm not going to get into details, nor am I supposed to share any details. But we've talked minimum of 4 weeks. If everybody's got 3, we got to do it in 3. I mean, I think ultimately in the end, we all want to have a college football season. We all want to play the game we love, coach the game we love, and nobody wants to miss college football this fall. But it's really whatever's best for the country. But we've really talked about a minimum of 4 weeks we'd like to have, in the worst case scenario. And but we prefer maybe 6 weeks. So somewhere between 6 and 4 is hopefully where it lies. And let's hope we're even better than that. Let's hope we can get them back and get them conditioning sometime in the summer. But that's all, you can sit here and hope and wish. But it's all going to be, how well we social distance ourselves here and take care of our business. So that's why it's so important that, really everybody does a job. You talk about a team. I mean, right now the USA is a big team, and we're all in this thing together. Everybody hears that watching the news. We're all in this. It's about as big a team as you're going to get. I mean, this is where you are all on the same team. We all want the same thing. We want the economy to open back up. We want football and basketball, and we want hockey to finish their season. We want it all to happen. But the only way we do it is to stick together as a team and make this thing happen.
Hey, Pat, do you worry about the future of the game, at least this fall? I mean, even though the country is going to open back up, you guys are going to take the field. It's hard to imagine 50 or 60,000 people showing up at Heinz Field for a football game, given the fact that we're still dealing with this virus.
Right. No question. I mean, do you worry about the future? I mean, I think the world changes every day and everything, and everything. And I don't think, what happened where we were in January will be the same in June. I think that, the world changes, and it changes daily and a lot of times for the better. So wherever this virus takes us, we'll go. But I mean, I think, sports in general, professional and collegiate sports is not going anywhere. Will it affect the fan attendance eventually? I think so, but I think that's been affected. I think these gigantic big screen TVs affected that, years ago. And I think that, this might affect a little bit until everybody feels comfortable. I think it'll affect all of our families. All of our families, are the same way. It's kind of like, you want to go to a game. I talked about maybe this weekend going out and walking 18 holes and playing some golf. And, I got some looks at the house like, hey, you better get a hotel room if you're leaving the house. So I think everybody's a little bit scared. And I think, luckily the city of Pittsburgh is in good hands. I mean, UPMC, I think anybody needs to go out and get some elective surgeries can go, because we've done a great job with social distancing and they don't have too many cases there. Knock on my wood desk here, but this is about as good a time as any to go get some of those elective surgeries that you need done, get them done, because obviously there's no place in the country I think does a better job than UPMC and how they're containing things and keeping it clean and everything else. So I know once the thing opened back up that there's going to be a ton of people trying to go back and get that surgery they needed, and I can imagine those getting an appointment might be a year or two out.
Pat, you had mentioned the interaction. What is the impact of not having camps for you guys?
Yeah, Jeff, not having, summer camps, which I know you probably heard probably in the last hour or so, that we're not going to have summer camps. It's always, anything that's happened. I mean, it's the impact of spring ball and the impact of not being around our kids, the impact of our guys not, having, those 2 meals, with the Durats, with Kevin Blinn, and, there's so many things that impact us, and it's just, something that we've just got to adapt, change and modify what we're doing. And, without summer camps, nobody's going to have summer camps. At least we're not going to have them. If we're not having them and someone else is having them, we're allowed to get 9 of them in. So we'll travel to whatever state we need to. If someone in, Florida or Georgia is having a camp, we'll try to zip down there and see what we can see. But, we'll make it happen without it. I mean, we're just going to rely a little bit more on, those personal relationships that we've built here throughout the last few months, during this quarantine time. And again, rely on our videotape and go back and watch that videotape again and watch more videotape, watch a game tape, and try to diagnose as much as you can, without seeing these kids live. And I'm sure kids will be sending me, I still got kids, sending videotape to me. They're out there throwing the ball or catching balls. Some are on a field, some are remote. So we're still getting a lot of video from those kids, and we kind of go from there.
Are you still optimistic that you'll be able to hold recruiting visits in June, or are you starting to prepare for the possibility that might not happen?
Yeah, I mean, we're preparing for it, Chris. We're certainly prepared for that. For those official visits. So I got a recruit texting me. Sorry for my lack of focus. We're certainly preparing for June visits. If the June visits don't happen, maybe the NCAA changes the calendar. We go to July visits, but we're preparing until we don't have that preparation available anymore. So that's the toughest thing as a coach is you're trying to, I'm a big calendar guy. What are we doing? How are we doing it? And the thing's constantly getting juggled from the dead period. It was going to be, I think, April 15th, and then, one evening, we find out it's May 31st like that. And, I don't know if anybody asked a coach or why 45 days as opposed to 30 days. Why don't we just kind of move it a little bit and then keep moving it? But, they don't ask as coaches. So you just continue to, like I said, modify, change, and adjust to what you're doing. And we'll adjust it somehow. And if there's no visits, there's no visits. But we sure hope, for the sake of everybody, on this call today in the city of Pittsburgh, in the United States, that we're open by that time. But we'll see.
There's so much uncertainty about everything. I mean, it seems like every day you hear a new scenario for a possible way the season could be played, starting late, some fans, no fans, 2021, all this. How many scenarios are you preparing for right now? How many scenarios are you considering, or are you just waiting to see?
We're waiting to see. I mean, we could plan and plan and plan. I mean, I think everybody in the football world would like a 12-game season and do it like we normally do. Nobody wants to see an adjustment because it would be like, the weird 2020 season continues to get weirder, It's like, how can you play, 8 games? I mean, it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be what we want. Now, we'll, again, adjust and modify and do what we have to do if that's the case. However, we all want a 12-game season, and we're prepared for that. It's just, when is the season going to start, I hope. I hope that's really the main thing is, when is it going to start up? And, what we want to make sure is it doesn't start up and get shut down. That would be probably a disaster. So I think it's so critical that, the medical experts and everybody make the right decision of when we can get going. And then again, we got to be careful as coaches around the country that we don't mess this thing up. And we've got to continue to teach our guys how to wash their hands. I mean, I don't think this washing hands and social distancing is not going to change. Maybe we go from 6 feet to 5 feet. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to continue to, massage this activity that we have and how we do our business.
Pat, do you think you guys could have football players back practicing if the regular students on campus aren't on campus? Say, at least a part of the fall semester or the summer, whatever is, well, the summer's already online. Say part of the fall semester is online as well. Could you guys have football players on campus practicing if the rest of the student body is doing work remotely?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can. I mean, we were doing it for 2 days of after spring ball, when maybe some people were still not here. We were still working out with several guys, and I think we've only got 12 guys on our campus right now in the sport of football that are still here in Pittsburgh. Everybody else is home, so we do have 12 here, I think, on campus. My numbers are right, but I think we could. I mean, I won't be making that decision. That'll be someone way above me, and it starts with the chancellor saying, yes, you can do that, and then we'll proceed to bring our guys back and do it in a safe fashion. Questions?
Hey, Pat, you mentioned how you guys couldn't over monitor maybe what the kids were doing strength and conditioning wise. I mean, different kids have different access to different things at home. You know, I mean, like even for my kids in our school district, they gave out laptops or iPads to all the kids so they could all, you know, use them, but some kids don't even have Wi-Fi at their house. I'm sort of curious. I mean, what's your concern level for your athletes that are home, that they're going to be able to kind of get the work in that they need to do if this extends over 2, 3, 4 months?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest concern. I'm trying to slide through just to see a face. I'm not sure who's asking the question here, but
It's Will. Sorry about that.
Okay, Will, is your picture on here, Will? You don't see anything.
No, I'm on the phone. Nobody wants to see me right now. It's
Okay.
pretty wrecked.
So you're asking that technology question because you have no technology, Will. Jeez, oh, Pete. Any AP, EJ? Maybe I'll talk to our video people, see if we can send him an iPad. But, you know, certainly that's my biggest concern is, you know, what are they doing, you know, when they're home? And, you know, it was funny today in a unit meeting at 10:15, Coach Bates told everybody to get 40 push-ups, and he actually got down, you know, moved his video down to the floor in the unit meeting defensively and started doing 40. I think he only did 38. I think he counted wrong. But he did and said, everybody, you know, do your 40 today and send it to me. So, you know, how many guys are going to do that? And this push-up's going to help us win a championship? I don't know. But it's just, you know, everybody's got different tools. You know, I've heard of guys grabbing buckets and filling them up with cement and with some rope, and you know, that's kind of how they're squatting. So we're back to the prehistoric ages. It's like, you know, how disciplined can our kids be? And our strength coaches, one thing they're doing right now, Coach Stacchiotti and his crew is calling these kids every day and staying on top, you know. But I can tell you guys all today, I didn't do a push-up. I can tell you I did 100 of them today, but I haven't done my push-ups yet. But, you know, you just don't know what everybody's doing, how distracted they are, you know, back at home. It's just a different world. That's why we're where we are, I guess.
Pat, it's, you know, you guys have a system in place, I guess, or whatever. You're dealing with the guys that are on your team. What about your incoming freshmen? What are you doing with those guys, the guys that are, you know, we're supposed to be getting ready to be on campus here in about 6 weeks or so?
Yeah, you know, that's obviously, you know, a concern, but they weren't going to be with us anyway. So it's really, you know, we're always worried about all of our guys. But, you know, we've been staying in touch with them. They can't be in our football meetings. Only the mid-year guys that you guys, you know, saw for 3 days can partake in some of our Zoom meetings. They can't partake in those. But, you know, they weren't taking part in that anyway. So our biggest concern with them right now is making sure, you know, like our guys still have tutors. Okay, they can have tutors. We can get all that access. Our academic people are jumping in our individual meetings. Say the receivers are meeting at 10:30. So, you know, our academic personnel, Mike Farabon, his crew is jumping in saying, hey, guys, got any questions? Hey, I need to make sure, RJ, you're doing this, and EJ, you're doing this. Bostic, you got to make sure you wrote your paper because we saw the first edit and wasn't very good. So, I mean, we've got all that. Now, our kids back in high school don't have that. So we just got to make sure they're staying in line with where they need to be academically, and just, you know, just kind of pushing them along and making sure they're working out as much as they can.
Can recruiting continue to happen throughout the summer if you guys can't get back in touch with guys? Can this keep going, or does eventually you run out of guys that have never seen the campus and it gets untenable to continue like this?
Yeah, that's a wild question, Alan. It can continue. We can continue to go this way. You know, it's like I've talked to kids, you know, all week really and last week, you know, just about your strategy. And everybody's strategy's got to change. Our strategy in recruiting has changed. I won't get into the details of what we're doing or how we're doing it because I want to keep that kind of tight. I don't want anybody else to, you know, maybe have our ideas as we try to steal other people's ideas. But I think we're, you know, cutting edge as far as maybe some of the things we're doing. And our recruiting office has done a great job. But, you know, we'll continue to do it that way. But, you know, our strategy as coaches and as a university has to change. And, you know, as I've talked to our players, I said, your strategy has to change. You're going to have to do a better job on the internet. You're going to have to, you know, get on more FaceTime, even though you might not like to FaceTime and do all these meetings. That's your only thing you have. Okay. And they've got decisions to make. And if they don't make them quick enough, someone else is going to jump in front. We know how that whole thing works. And the worst phone call you can ever make is to a, you know, kid saying, hey, we filled up in a certain position. So, you know, our recruits have to do the same thing we're doing. Change your strategy a little bit, adjust and modify, as we've talked a couple times here today, on what they're doing to make their decision. And you know, they have to understand it has to change. It's not the same. And this poor 2021 class that is dealing with this. This is the first time ever that the NCAA had February as a dead period. Okay, in the past, January was open and February was open and March was open, and now the NCAA in 2020 here for the 21 class made February dead for the first time ever. So they couldn't come to a basketball game on a Saturday because it's dead. And all of a sudden, then this thing comes up, March is dead. Okay, April's dead and May's dead. I mean, so January, February, March, April, May, all dead, 5 months. Okay, June could be open, and then July becomes another dead period. And I get concerned with even moving the June period of, say, evaluations to July, because what high school coach in the country wants to say, hey, yeah, let's make July open to go college visits, because that's when they're trying to prepare for their season, God willing. So those are all the, I mean, everybody's schedule changes and everybody's got to adjust a little bit.
Does it make you feel maybe better about the kids that you've already had on campus?
It does. There just wasn't many of them. But what makes me feel good, Alan, is the city of Pittsburgh, Western Pennsylvania, the state of Pennsylvania. This is as good a class that has been intact in this state of Pennsylvania since I've been here. So we have had a lot of Pennsylvania kids on this campus, and if it was a bad year, and I don't want to say last year was a bad year, but we got the best player in the state, in Dayon Hayes. And we try to keep our standards. The standard this year is a heck of a year in the state of Pennsylvania, which helps, makes me feel a little bit better. I can sleep a little bit better knowing that there's players in our backyard this year, again, as good as it's been in 5 years. That I hope everybody's smart enough. They probably don't want to get on an airplane from the city of Pittsburgh and go anywhere else. They just stay right here in Pittsburgh. That's what we want to do, is keep them here.
Kelly, I think you had a question.
Oh, you see me pop it. I'm going to be consistent and ask you the same question I asked Heather last week.
Okay, Kelly, go ahead.
You guys, like the rest of us, are a little high strung, and I don't think that's offensive for me to tell you that you coaches are high strung. How are you dealing with all this, with your schedule being disrupted and you being locked in the house? You sounded like you wanted to go play golf tomorrow, probably did not think about the spring game not happening. And then the second part of the question is, what's your message to Panther Nation?
Okay.
I want you to feel.
We'll start with the Panther Nation. Panther Nation is, hey, everything's going to be great. Hang in there. Be persistent. And, Pitt football, Pitt athletics, and the University of Pittsburgh will be back. It'll be a matter of time. That's my message to the Panther fans out there. And then as far as being high strung, I mean, my wife and kids can probably tell you I'm still high strung. I shut the door. Sometimes a dog even butts through, the door here. If you heard a little bit of 15 minutes ago, that dog came cruising through, knows where I'm at. But, we never, you're just going to be high strung at whatever we're allowed to do. I'm high strung at home now as opposed to high strung, in the office. But, I'm taking my trips up. We have recruiting mail that we're sending out every day. So I take my walk up to the mailbox, drop it off, try to, get rid of a little energy that way. So it's just, we're high strung. That doesn't change. I mean, that doesn't change during the season on a Sunday compared to a Monday.
Pat, getting back to the issue of the spring practices, when we talked to Heather last week, asked her about that, and she said that there's not a lot of potential really to get those practices back. And like you mentioned, there are teams in the ACC that never started spring practice. There's a school, Clemson, that got 9. I mean, is that, or would that be an unfair advantage for some schools or unfair disadvantage to other schools if they don't, if you don't get to 15, or at least try and level it somehow?
Right. It's an unfair advantage without a doubt, but you know what? We can't control it anymore.
Yeah.
If the NCAA or the conferences the Power 5 can get together and say, hey, listen, we got to do something. Again, it's not Clemson's fault because they got, 9 in. They started early based on their calendar and their weather maybe. It's not Syracuse's fault because they got 0 because of maybe weather concerns up in Syracuse. So in their dome, I don't know what it is. So, I mean, everybody's got a different calendar. And if we all would have known this would have taken place, we'd have started spring ball the week of that school started. I think on the 6th of January, just said, let's go. We came out of bowl practice and 8 days later, we're going to be in spring ball, and let's get it going here before this whole thing comes down. So, I mean, really nothing we can do about spring ball. It's water under the, we just got to, the big concern is where are we going to be in the future? What are we doing to make sure everything is consistent as we can? as we move forward.
Is there a sense, you know, obviously I don't want to divulge too much into what you guys talked about on that ACC coaches call yesterday, but
Right.
I mean, obviously, is there a sense of helplessness like you, like everyone else in this country, that you just don't know kind of how long this is going to take and everything? I mean, for you and your peers, I mean, is there that kind of sense of we're just rolling with it day by day?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that sense because you don't know, and really until yesterday's call was the most information I've got, and I kind of shared it with some of our kids on Zoom today. You know, it's about most information we've got as far as like a plan. I mean, all we want is a plan, and we want to start to set some more calendars. So yesterday was a great call. You know, last Wednesday's call or Thursday's call, whatever it was, we'll have weekly calls with the ACC. You know, probably wasn't as productive or, you know, as much information as we needed. So, you know, all we want to do is, you know, start to work a plan so we can kind of go, if this happened, you know, just different scenarios is what we need. Zero scenarios for us will drive us all bananas. And you know, we'll get nowhere. We don't want to find out a week before we're going to open up that, hey, this is what we're going to do, and go, you know, there's no preparation. We want to be as detailed in everything we do, you know, moving forward.
Is that ramp up timeline something that you guys really discussed yesterday? Was that like, would you say like the top of the agenda or near the top?
When you say ramping up,
in terms of like that, you know, you said earlier the minimum 4 weeks or whatever it would be.
I mean, that's, yeah, the basic was just the time. What time do we need? And then when the time is there, what do we need to get with our kids? Like how many minutes of practice, walkthroughs, all those things, just the you know, those little things we're trying to get ironed out and have a plan as a conference.
Pat, you had mentioned in your opening statement about feeling bad for the draft eligible seniors. Is there anything you guys could do for them? Can you make calls, send extra video? And what advice have you given the ones that you've talked to?
Yeah, I mean, the NFL teams will normally call us and call our coaches. They usually do it after a pro day, which obviously didn't happen. But, you know, we sent out our booklet on all of our players. Usually when an NFL team comes, we'll give them a booklet with all their stuff. And then, you know, they get all the different times. But, you know, we thought about doing a mini pro day, just filming our pro day. But then that's when things got shut down on March 17th. We were just talking about having maybe one more workout. We'll try to squeeze in one more workout and get the guys back and just do it. But, you know, we just thought in the safety of our kids, and, you know, that probably wasn't the best thing to do, is squeeze them back or bring them back now so we can set them, you know, Maurice French running a 40-yard dash. So what we put together really is a packet for them to know, hey, this is where they were a year ago. You can imagine where they are now. Here's their bench. Here's their 40. Here's their agility. We do most of the drills they're going to do. And, you know, thank God Dane Jackson got to go to the combine in Indianapolis, so you don't worry as much about him as you worry about some of the other guys that didn't have that opportunity.
You were talking about recruiting and, you know, the fact that you can't bring guys on campus right now. What about something like a transfer where a guy's got to make a decision on a college? You know, he doesn't have until December to pick a school. You know, he's got to decide right now. How do you sell Pitt to him when he can't ever actually set foot on campus?
Yeah, well, we're 1-0, Chris. I don't know if anybody in the country is 1-0. We're 1-0 with grad transfers, or transfers coming in without an official visit or unofficial visit in Joey Yellen. So, you know, we got the best record, I think, in the country, and that was way before the coronavirus. So we're 1-0, and hopefully we can be 2-0 or maybe 3-0 or 5-0. I don't know. You know, that's our job. That's our job, is to, hey, strategies have changed. We did want to get, you know, a guy in early, and we were trying to get him in early. He wanted to wait, and then all of a sudden we wait, and now we're waiting forever. And, you know, I know if he would have looked back right now and been, man, I wish I'd have got here. So we'll just continue. That's all we have. Again, just got to, you know, adjust to the conditions, and he's got to adjust to it. And, you know, obviously we like him online and in summer school.
Would you be, and I know you've spoken about this before, but would you soften your position on guys from maybe your roster who went into the portal now, given how extraordinary the circumstances have become? That, yeah, I know you've said in the past you would not let guys come back. Would you, you know, I mean, do you take this situation into consideration and maybe soften that stance a bit?
Not really, because, I mean, this decision was, you know, a lot of those portal things were made way before. So really not really. I mean, you know, our team is our team, and we've gone through so much since some guys have voluntarily removed themselves from a football program. And I mean, there's been some outstanding Zoom meetings, and, when I zoom in and I'm hearing everybody just joke around with each other and all that. I mean, you miss all that stuff. And, there's the team concept and being around your team and all that. And I think, it's just the time, changes everything. And when you're not around your kids, it's different. And so really, our stance right there, Chris, isn't going to change.
That, you talked about spring practices and how that's going to be different for everybody. Thinking about your team specifically, what maybe do you feel like you guys are going to hurt from missing out on those practices? And maybe what areas do you feel like, well, maybe we have an advantage because, say, you have a lot of your defense coming back or something like that?
Right. Yeah, obviously, if you went down our roster and looked and said, okay, Weaver and Camp are probably going to do much on defensive line. Pat Jones and Twyman are going to be okay. And you look at some of our older guys that maybe it's okay if they miss some time. And it's our younger guys that, really will miss time. Maybe the development of a backup quarterback. Obviously, I feel really good with Kenny in the development he's had over a year. And he'll be able to go through some meeting things and some of the mental parts of that game. But, it's developing, that the competition as the backup quarterback between Nick Patty and Davis and Joey Yellen. That's what you're missing is who is that guy. I mean, we lost 12 practices, 12 meaningful practices. You missed a spring game that, you'd see those quarterbacks compete in a, game atmosphere when that's all matters. So, and again, you can say that same thing, whether it's Izzy at tailback or Jordan Addison missed those 12 practices and he came in mid-year to get those in. He showed some great promise in 3 days and all of a sudden he gets cut short. So there's all those things. Obviously, he got 3 days in more than like Jalen Barden did. So, when you talk receiver position. So, the young guys lost development. Grant Kerrigan, moving from tight end to offensive tackle, and I think he's got a great upside there. But he's lost some of those days' development. Hopefully he's with his dad in the backyard, running into a tree or something, with a 6 foot distance for sure.
This upcoming season will be the first, consecutive seasons at least that you've got the same offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator in place. Kind of how nice is that continuity, at least when you don't know if spring practices are going to come back for anyone, when you don't know when the season's going to start, that at least not only do you have older players coming back, but there's understanding between the players and the coaches, not just at the coordinator level, but the assistants too. You guys are pretty, on the straight and narrow there.
Yeah, if there had to be a year that you didn't want to lose not one assistant coach or for sure a coordinator, 2020 would have been that year. So again, check the box for Pitt there as far as another advantage. We didn't lose anybody. You look at Syracuse with 0 spring ball, and I think they lost a couple coordinators. And you look at, Florida State, with Mike Norvell and, them trying to install a new system in the ACC. Those are all, they're kind of going, oh, man, we don't even know who our starting quarterback is. So everybody's got issues, and, some are bigger than others. And, the continuity certainly helps and, is a big factor for us this year. And we're thankful for that.
Have you had any discussions internally with your athletic director and other officials about possible budget implications for your football program with the country on the brink of a recession? You don't know how many games you might be able to play this season.
We've talked about, some of the budget items, at the university. We haven't gotten very detailed at it. And I think it's way too early maybe to get detailed at it. But Heather will do a great job of adjusting and making things happen. And we'll kind of leave it at that, I guess. But there'll be thoughts and certainly ways for us to help out.
Coach, you talked about it a little bit already, but let's hope and pray that football goes on as scheduled. And I want to hear about the team. I mean, you put out the hype video about the defense yesterday. You have pretty good defense coming back. Kenny in for a senior year. So talk about the team if everything does move forward and we start football in August.
Right. I would say, Kelly, I love our football team. I loved them 5 years ago, but, when you look at the amount of talent, yesterday was just a small glimpse of our football team. I think I tweeted out a defensive line video with some of their sacks, kind of classic. I got to give our video department and George and Chad Bogart some props there. That was a great video with that reporter going, ooh, that was kind of hilarious, with the old TV screen, and everybody's kind of looking at a TV nowadays or some type of screen. So they did a great job. That was just our D-line. So, I mean, when you look at all phases and all units of our football team, I'm excited about this 2020 football team. You really are. I mean, that's why you certainly want to see these guys play 12 as opposed to 8. Be a big proponent of 12-game season as opposed to an 8-game season. If they ever shorten it, obviously it'd be disappointed. But I love our football team, and I think we got a really good football team coming back, and I want to see them all together, playing as a football team and really, being developed, this fall into one of the better football teams that we've seen. Hope I answered your question, Kelly. Look puzzled there.
Oh, I'm not. No, you answered me. Thank you. I'm sorry. I forget I'm on camera.
You're on camera. I'm looking, and I'm flipping to look at you so I can see your reaction.
Other questions?
Pat, kind of a lighter question. Since you're home much more these days than you usually are this time of year, what kind of things you'll be able to experience with the family that maybe you weren't able to experience prior to this?
It's like having a peanut butter sandwich with your family at lunchtime, I miss Kevin Blinn and the meals we have there. But, just being able to, walk out and go into the kitchen, get a cup of coffee after a meeting, as opposed to, walking by LaSalle's office and going to the coffee machine there, the Starbucks machines that we have in the office, which we're blessed to have. But, it's just all those, like I can be on the phone and get off the phone and take a 3-minute family break, see what's going on. I've made some, phone calls back, I guess, seemed like 3 or 4 days ago when it was 63 degrees out. It seemed like was about the average temperature. And sit on the back patio and make some recruiting calls. And, you have your children out there. My oldest is working from home. That's Ariana. Christina's, she's teaching. So she's on the teaching end of it from home and to try to teach her students from afar. My son's, kind of like our players, taking classes online. And, so I'm getting tidbits from how his classes are going. So I know how our other guys are going, some long Zoom sessions and classes that should be outlawed, I guess. And then my youngest, Isabella, who's at North Allegheny, just watching her go through her virtual day as far as classes online. So I've got really all phases, the work, the teacher, and a student, one in high school, one in college. So I get to experience a little bit more of that instead of coming home at night and falling asleep and waking up the next day doing the same thing.
Any Netflix recommendations?
You know what? I do have one. Okay, that stupid Tiger thing, what anybody's getting out of that stupid thing. I mean, some of us said I'd have been great, and then they get tracked. That is I watched one episode of that, and I was like, guys, I'm out of here. This is, like, are you kidding me? Like, and I don't even know how to get on Netflix. My kids will put us into that thing sometimes. And, we've actually gone into movie nights, because with 4 kids, it's always hard to pick a movie. And we'll flip through whatever it is, Apple TV or, I don't know what, wherever the movies are. So, so we've gone through, like last night, Patrick, it was his turn to pick the movie. And it's kind of made things a little smooth. You might try it at your house. I mean, trying to get 6 people to say, it's a terrible movie. I don't want to watch that. But we watched the greatest game ever last night. I don't know if you guys, old school golf movie. But that was the pick last night. You know what? He picked the movie. We watched it, and everybody was smooth, and there was no arguing about what movie to watch, or I don't want to watch this, I'm going upstairs. So it's been pretty good. Highly recommend, EJ.
So you would not recommend Tiger King then?
Highly, never. I mean, and again, any of those, I mean, just people try to make money and say stupid things. I just, it's a hard deal there. What a mess. I still don't even understand why it would even be a show. Who would put that on TV?
Glad we saved the hard-hitting issues for the end of this. That's or the most important. Do we have anything else? If not, I want to thank everybody for joining us. It is good to see everybody. Good to see that everybody's healthy and well. And we'll look forward to circling back to one of these gatherings again soon. But really appreciate it. Coach, thanks for your time and insight today.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thanks for taking time. And again, I want to thank everybody out there on the front lines, as you guys know. Thanking all the doctors, the nurses, the people in the grocery store, the people that are out there that are keeping everything going while we're sitting at home. And there's some people that aren't sitting at home like we are. So we're fortunate that we're sitting in our houses right now, but those doctors and nurses that you watch on the news every night, whether it's in New York or Detroit or Louisiana, it's crazy things. My dog's knocking on the door over there now. But, we thank everything for their, thank everybody for their efforts there. And I wish everybody a happy holiday weekend as well.
Thanks for your time, Pat.
Thank
Come
you.
on,
Stay
let me
safe.
get
Stay
the
safe, guys.
dog up here. Come
Yeah,
here, Marty.
bring the dog in.
It's a killer dog. Come here, Marty. This dog, come on.
What's
There
this
you
dog's
go, there
name?
you go. So now this dog, now that's the other family things. We get a little dog action in here, yeah. So, this is Marty here. This dog's it's a good dog. So
You look like the
looking for
Tiger
some
King.
food. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Happy Easter.
Thanks, you too, Coach.
Thanks.
TJ.
Okay.